Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something I think, well, pretty much everyone grapples with at some point. That big life change you want to make, getting healthier, maybe a career shift, whatever it is, and actually, making it stick. We all know that feeling, right? Starting strong then, poof. A few weeks later, you're back where you started. Why does that happen?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That failure to sustain things, it's the core problem, really.
Yeah.
We kick off with all this enthusiasm, but let's face it, enthusiasm doesn't last. Our sources are pretty clear. If you want change to last, it comes down to um, organization, productivity techniques, and the big one, discipline.
Okay, discipline, that word. It often makes people flinch, doesn't it? We think of like school detention or forcing yourself to do horrible things.
Right, it has this negative vibe.
But the definition we're working with here is actually really powerful. It frames discipline as simply acting in favor of your long-term goals or your health, regardless of how you feel in the moment.
Exactly. It's about aligning what you do with what you ultimately want, instead of just reacting to, fleeting emotions or urges. Think about it like this. Your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, knows what's good for you long term. But the older, more emotional part of your brain just wants comfort now. Cake, snooze button, whatever. Discipline is basically practicing letting that rational part win the argument. That momentary struggle, that's where change actually happens.
And if we want to make that struggle less frequent, less draining, that brings us to habits, yeah.
Absolutely. Habits are key. They're the brain's autopilot. Those actions, good or bad, that we've done so many times that just happen. No real thought required, like brushing your teeth.
Okay, but here's a huge myth we need to bust right away. Everyone quotes this 21 days to form a habit thing, or sometimes 28 days. Our sources say, flat out, that's just wrong.
Oh, it's completely misleading. It sounds great, good for marketing, maybe, but the science doesn't back it up for anything complex. That 21-day idea usually comes from observing really simple behaviors. The reality. The harder the habit, the longer it takes. Significantly longer. Something like building a serious daily exercise routine. Research suggests more like 66 days on average, and honestly, sometimes way longer than that. You got to be prepared for the long haul.
So the goal isn't just to grit your teeth and rely on willpower every single day, because willpower runs out, right?
Exactly. It's like a muscle, or maybe a phone battery is a better analogy. It just drains throughout the day with every decision you make. If you're forcing yourself through something tough purely on willpower every morning, you'll likely have nothing left by mid-afternoon.
Right.
But when you turn that draining task into an automatic habit, what researchers call automaticity, you basically free up all that mental energy. You save that willpower battery for other things, like, I don't know, dealing with a tricky work problem or not snapping at your kids.
It's like learning to drive, isn't it? At first, everything is conscious. Mirror, signal, maneuver, exhausting. Then eventually, your brain just bundles it all together into one automatic program called driving.
Precisely. And we need to do that same bundling for the things we want to change: fitness, eating well, focusing on work.
Okay, so if willpower is this limited resource, how do we actually protect it? How do we make things easier?
Right. Through organization. And we don't just mean having a tidy desk, though that can help. Organization, in this context, is really a strategic tool. It's about structuring your environment. It has two main goals. One, make the things you want to do incredibly easy, almost effortless. And two, make the things you don't want to do really difficult. Or, ideally, impossible.
Okay, give me an example, like the 6 a.m. workout goal.
Perfect example. If getting ready involves finding clothes, packing a bag, making coffee, that's maybe 10 small points of friction before you even start. Each one drains a little willpower.
You're likely to just roll over.
Exactly. So the organized solution: sleep in your gym clothes, put your shoes right by the bed, fill the water bottle the night before. Suddenly the decision isn't, should I go through that whole annoying process? It's just, put feet on floor. Much easier.
And the flip side, making bad habits harder.
Well, if junk food is your weakness, the organizational step is simple, if not always easy. Get it out of the house. All of it. If getting those chips means a 10-minute drive in the rain, you've just made the undesired behavior difficult enough that your discipline stands a much better chance. Remove the temptation.
The sources also really emphasized writing things down, not just the goal, but the whole plan.
Yes, hugely important. A detailed plan significantly increases success rates. But it's not just what you'll do. You also need to anticipate the roadblocks, what difficulties might come up, and write down your specific solution for each before it happens. That preparation is key.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit into the psychology. There's this weird thing. Lots of people are amazing at taking care of others, right? Like kids, pets, even elderly parents. making sure they take their meds, get their exercise.
Mm-hmm. Very common.
But they're terrible at being consistent with their own health stuff. Why is that?
Well, the sources do touch on things like self-worth, maybe feeling you don't deserve the same care. That can be part of it, sure.
Uh-huh.
But let's focus on the actionable advice, which is really powerful. The trick is to start thinking of yourself as someone you are responsible for caring for. Like you are your own patient or your own child in this specific context. You're accountable to yourself.
Accountable to yourself. I like that framing.
If you wouldn't let your kids skip something vital for their health, why let yourself off the hook? Treat your own well-being with that same level of non-negotiable importance.
That reframing ties directly into another huge concept, identity change.
Yes, this is fundamental. We tend to act in ways that reinforce our existing self-image. If deep down you believe you're a lazy person, you'll unconsciously find ways to act lazy just to prove yourself right. It's a feedback loop.
It maintains consistency.
Exactly. There's that classic study in schools, right, where teachers are told, sometimes falsely, that certain kids are gifted or high potential.
Mhm.
And what happens? Those kids actually start performing better, not because they suddenly got smarter, but because the teacher's belief changed how they interacted with them, and the kids started acting consistently with that projected identity.
Wow. So the takeaway for someone listening is don't just try to quit smoking.
No, you have to start genuinely seeing yourself identifying as a non-smoker.
Or don't think, ugh, I have to go to the gym.
Right. Shift your identity. Think, I'm an athlete, or even just, I am someone who exercises regularly, whatever fits, but make it part of your identity.
Because then the actions follow the identity.
Precisely. When temptation hits, the internal conversation changes. An athlete doesn't really debate whether to train. Training is just part of who they are. It makes the choice almost automatic. Deviating feels wrong, inconsistent.
Okay, but to build and support that new identity, you can't ignore the basics, the physical stuff.
Oh, absolutely not. Willpower and identity shifts are fragile if your body is running on empty. This brings us to the foundational pyramid. You simply cannot make consistently good, disciplined decisions if your fundamental physiological needs aren't met. Being hungry, being sleep-deprived. These massively impair your prefrontal cortex, the rational decision-making part of your brain.
So when you're tired or starving, you just default to easy rewards.
Yep. Impulse control goes out the window. You'll reach for the quickest, easiest comfort, which is usually the exact opposite of your long-term goals.
So the pyramid, where do we start?
Bottom layer, foundational. It has to be sleep. Getting enough quality sleep, especially deep sleep, is non-negotiable. Sleep deprivation basically zeroes out your willpower battery faster than anything else. Fix sleep first.
And then, this was interesting, the role of exercise. A lot of people cut exercise when they get busy, thinking they're saving time for work or study.
Big mistake. The sources actually point the other way, particularly for strength training.
Right. Not just cardio, but lifting weights.
Exactly. Lifting weights isn't just for muscles. It's apparently one of the best things you can do for your brain. It significantly improves cognitive function, decision-making, executive control, basically, all the mental machinery you need for discipline.
And the discipline you build in the gym transfers?
Highly transferable, yes. Forcing yourself through that last tough set of squats builds mental fortitude you can then apply elsewhere. To studying, to resisting cravings, to finishing a difficult report.
Okay, so there's a definite order here, a hierarchy for building discipline.
Yes, a very clear sequence according to the research. First, fix your sleep quality. That's the absolute base. Second, improve your diet and nutrition, fueling your brain properly. Third, establish consistent exercise with a strong nod toward resistance training for those cognitive benefits.
And only then.
Only once those three pillars are reasonably solid should you really start demanding high levels of discipline for other things like intense work focus or major creative projects.
Trying to build work discipline on a foundation of poor sleep and bad food is like building a house on sand.
Pretty much setting yourself up to fail. Get the foundations right first.
All right, let's talk about some maybe more advanced tools. Managing the internal state, the emotions that can derail us. The sources highlighted two things, meditation and stoicism.
That's right. For meditation, specifically compassion-focused meditation, the study suggests this type of practice can really improve how you respond to stress and setbacks. It seems to lower emotional reactivity. You cultivate a kind of inner stability, so if you slip up, miss a workout, eat something off-plan, it's less likely to trigger a complete downward spiral.
Okay, that makes sense. And the second one, stoicism. That sounds a bit intense.
Well, it doesn't mean being emotionless. In this context, it's more about learning to tolerate, even find satisfaction in, things that are initially uncomfortable. It's about breaking the addiction to constant pleasure or ease, recognizing that growth often happens through discomfort.
This connects to the idea of the amateur versus the professional, right?
Exactly. James Clear talks about this a lot. The amateur only works when they feel inspired. They train when motivated, right when the muse strikes.
Waits for the feeling.
Right. The professional. They show up regardless. They have a schedule. They write the pages, do the reps, make the calls, whether they feel like it or not. Adopting that professional mindset towards your goals is crucial for pushing past momentary feelings.
But that push, it often comes with this really heavy feeling, doesn't it? Resistance. Like, you know you should do the thing, but every part of you is screaming, no.
Ah, yes. Resistance. Stephen Pressfield calls it the enemy. That feeling is basically your brain trying to protect you from perceived danger or excessive effort. Big change feels threatening on a primal level. Your brain wants to conserve energy.
So it throws up this wall of, ugh, I don't want.
Precisely. That resistance is the main barrier between you and the change you want. But here is the fascinating twist, the paradox.
Go on.
The stronger that feeling of resistance, that fear, that aversion towards a positive, growth-oriented action, the more certain you can be that this is exactly what you need to do.
Whoa. So the resistance isn't a stop sign. It's actually a compass pointing towards growth.
In many ways, yes. If it felt easy, it probably wouldn't lead to significant change or learning. The resistance confirms you're pushing your boundaries.
Okay, my brain hurts a little, but it makes sense. So knowing resistance is normal, even useful, how do we reliably overcome it day to day, given willpower is limited? The sources seem to point to one method as being almost unfairly effective.
Accountability, without a doubt.
Just telling someone else what you're doing.
Essentially, yes. Creating a situation where you have to report on your progress or lack thereof, it taps into basic human psychology. We just care more about external commitments than purely internal ones. It's weird, but true.
We study harder for an exam than just for ourselves.
Right. We train better with a coach watching. We stick to diets better if we have a weigh-in or someone checking our food log.
It adds that external pressure, takes the internal debate out of it sometimes.
It really does. So the advice is actively seek out ways to be accountable. Tell a supportive friend your goal and ask them to check in. Join a group. Hire a coach. Even just tracking publicly online, it doesn't always have to be a specialist, though sometimes that helps. Just find someone to report to, provided they actually support your goal. This forces responsibility and just skyrockets discipline levels. It's a hack, but a powerful one.
So let's try and pull this all together. What's the big picture? Discipline isn't some magical trait you're born with or without. It's actually a skill you build strategically, piece by piece, starting with that physical foundation, sleep, nutrition, exercise, then organizing your world to make the right things easy and the wrong things hard. And finally, consciously shifting your identity to become the person who does those things naturally.
Exactly. And it's worth remembering why discipline is necessary in the first place. It's because most things that are truly good for us, for our health, our growth, our long-term success, are just not comfortable or easy in the short term. Our defaults often work against us.
That's the core challenge, isn't it? But maybe understanding the mechanics makes it less daunting. So here's a final thought to chew on. The next time you feel that deep, almost overwhelming resistance or even fear about starting something positive, something you know is good for you, try not to see it as a signal to retreat. See it as confirmation. Confirmation that you're pointed directly at your growth edge. What stands out to you right now as the weakest link in your own foundational pyramid, sleep, diet, or exercise that maybe needs attention first?